All right, so I can see that we are already quite a lot of people. So we will start with today's last session for the third virtual summit. So it has been a great summit so far. So today we thought that would be good to finish this virtual summit talking a bit more about what tools Stuller is offering that also can help when you are designing anything with the software, right? So many times jewelers starts to do a design with just say one solitaire or a ring that needs some engraving. So you can design everything with the software, you can get it ready, but then you need the casting and you need the finishing part. So when you are in this finishing part is when tools like the ones that we are going to talk today are a big assistant. The trade has changed a lot thanks to this new technology. So to talk a bit more about this today, we have Jacob and Wayne from BND. So just to introduce them very short, Wayne has been in the jewelry trade for almost 27 years. So having this kind of knowledge in our company is something that we really appreciate, because this gives us a lot of experience and how to work with tools, what are the needs from the jeweler. So this is very important. He has been working for big companies, and then he just joined BND. So now it's bringing all this experience to all the tools from BND. So thank you to be here with us today, Wayne.
Thank you.
And then we have Jacob. Jacob also has been in Stuller for a long time, but then he moved to Rhode Island to run when we acquired BND. So he moved to Rhode Island. I remember a lot of meetings with him while he was in Rhode Island, and now he's back to yes, he was called, and now he's back in Lafayette. He's now running still BND, but also as a director of sales. So Jacob, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having us, Oriol. We appreciate it.
All right, so I think that we have been talking a bit about already, but what you have been doing, what are you doing now? So now, Jacob, Wayne, if you want, you can start sharing your screen, and we go deep in all this magnificent tools world.
Perfect. Can you see what we're sharing right now?
Yes. Perfect.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for the warm introduction. Hello, everybody. Today, as Oriol mentioned, we're going to be talking to you a little bit about what BND and Stuller can offer as far as additional tools and equipment. I wanted to get into really quickly a little bit about myself and Wayne. As Oriol mentioned, we're heavily inundated in the world of jewelry making, modifying, customizing equipment. So Wayne has been around for a very long time. We're very happy that he has joined our team. He's been in the jewelry industry for a while, so he brings a lot of knowledge and expertise. And as Oriol mentioned, I recently moved back to Louisiana, warmed up a little bit, and got some even better food back in my life. So very happy to be with you all today. Now, we wanted to start with an introduction to BND itself. We've talked already about BND and Stuller, and while BND has been around for a very long time, we are a Stuller company now. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about that and what that means to the industry and to our business as a whole in a bit, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of BND and how kind of all of this came about. Back in 1984, Henry Barney and Pat Duran started a business. They were friends that were really just hungry to make a name for themselves and make it in the world. What they started doing is, because they were in Rhode Island, and Rhode Island was the focal point of a lot of jewelry manufacturing at that time, they started making friends, meeting people, and they were actually buying up equipment, especially whenever a jewelry business was going out of business. They would help liquidate that business. They would buy that equipment and they take it over to New York, which is just 4 hours away from where we still operate today. So in doing that, what they were able to do is establish strong relationships with the jewelry industry. And they really got a person-to-person, frontline understanding of what it is that the jewelry industry as a whole needed. And what they learned is that what they need is service and support in all of their equipment operations. So in starting to bring this equipment to all of these jewelry manufacturers, these jewelry facilities, what they would do is they would lead with service, they would lead with support. And if something was wrong, they would drive right out and take care of it, or they would be right on the phone to help them out. And a lot of that is really still what we stand for today. Now, fast forward a little bit into about 10 years after they started the business, by some mix of good timing, good luck, good fortune, they were in Germany at a trade show and they found one of the first lasers that was made for jewelry making and repairing applications. They immediately jumped at this opportunity. They felt that this was something that was sure to revolutionize how we were doing business. And so they ended up bringing the first, and I say this strongly, but everybody has their claims, right? But we really believe that B&D was the first to bring laser technology into the jewelry industry in the United States. They brought it at the 1994 Providence Jewelry Show, and then they ended up showing it on a much larger stage the following year, bringing the laser welder to the 1995 JCK show. And kind of the rest is history. We've continued to grow what we've done across the country, and we're still leading with that service and support today. We're still, and we've really developed only further understandings and offerings when it comes to laser technology as a whole. Now, you met Wayne and myself. We have the rest of our team here as we are today. Liz Garavi has been with the business for a very long time now as well. She was with the original owners. She's our operations manager, and she really handles all the comings and goings of everything that we do with the business. So really couldn't do what we do without her. She's a huge contributor to our operations. Richard Majacomo, our longest standing technician. He also came into the business with Pat and Henry and has an incredible amount of knowledge, not only on how things are done in the jewelry industry, because he actually did even make jewelry before this, but also our laser equipment and technology. Kylie, our newest technician, has really just hit the ground running and has been an absolute joy to meet with. So I'm sure you'll see her at some point at some trade show or working on lasers. Rich, one of the best technicians I've ever met personally. He's an extremely talented and intelligent individual, really helps support what we're doing on that technical aspect. And then Sal, an incredible individual who's our second to newest technician and has really embraced everything that we're doing. He travels a ton and gets out into the field, but these are our boots on the ground. These are our operations and managers and our full team. And we really couldn't do what we do without them, but really we are dedicated to supporting the jewelry industry and the laser equipment that is vital to the production in businesses. And as we see here, we were acquired by Stuller in 2018. And that is why we are now B&D, a Stuller company. And so I will kick it over to Wayne to talk a little bit more about what that acquisition was like and what that means going forward for the industry.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jacob. And hello, everybody. As you just heard, B&D has truly been committed to giving uncompromising customer service for over 30 years. Our partnership through the acquisition of B&D didn't only expand our current product offerings at Stuller, but it also helped meet our customers' ever-growing needs for after-sales support, like Jacob was talking about, working side by side with the tools tech team, like Tanner Jeffries, who some of you may have met earlier this week during one of the presentations. We now have an expansive assortment of tools and equipment with tools professionals truly only a phone call away. I think Danny Clark actually said it best. Both Stuller and B&D have always put customers first and know that meeting the needs of the customers after the sale is just as important to continue that relationship. As many of you know, customer relationships can be damaged if we don't always give quick and efficient support and communication. Our teams know that you have very tight timelines and expectations. We also work hard to offer the most state-of-the-art laser equipment and the support throughout the life of that equipment. Our highly trained laser technicians honestly are available and they pride themselves on honestly knowing all of the ins and outs of this technology from the past and present. And honestly, speaking about laser technology, let's learn a little bit more about that evolution. Jacob is kind of a laser geek.
I really am. It's something I pride myself in. But I think Wayne said that so beautifully. I mean, it really is true. We understand that when it comes to delivering that piece, right, that means so much to the end consumer of this jewelry, to the mother, to the father, to the bride, right? We know that you need to deliver in a timely fashion, and we know that the equipment that we are using to make these things has to be up to par. So I think that that's such an important thing that we're always at the forefront of our minds in through Stuller and through B&D. The tech teams on both sides are really here for you. And as Wayne mentioned, I'm definitely a little bit of a laser nerd. If you ever see me at a trade show and you want to just kind of nerd out with me on that, buy me a glass of bourbon. We could talk all night about this kind of thing, but really, I just wanted to kind of camp here for a second. The laser technology to me is so fascinating. And you'll see Albert Einstein here in the top right-hand corner. There's a lot of things that you may or may not know, but one of the things that I learned, because I didn't necessarily study this in school, is just something that we've enwrapped ourselves in. But Albert Einstein was the first to theorize what laser technology could be. Now, unfortunately, the first laser wasn't even made until 5 years after he died, but the theory that he came up with is still very accurate to what we're doing today. A lot of you might also not know, I know I didn't, that laser is an acronym, stands for light amplification by simulated emission of radiation. So what we're truly doing is we're using various methods. You'll hear the term like YAG laser, fiber laser. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on, but we're using these methods to truly amplify light, in other words, in essence, and either use various wavelengths of light beams of energy, right, to either weld, to put materials together, to remove materials, or to mark materials. So very exciting stuff. And on the bottom right hand corner, you'll see what the first laser that we were talking about earlier, that this is that same model. And it's interesting, this was 28 years ago now that these lasers first came out into the jewelry industry in the United States, and that model in particular we still are maintaining and servicing for certain customers today. So while laser equipment can sometimes be a daunting investment, it's important to understand also the longevity of this type of equipment when kept up properly. And you'll see in this last paragraph, I kind of put all this just once again because I like the in-depth information, but the bottom is the most important for us, right? It's such a standard tool to create efficiencies and to increase overall productivity. And we know that whenever it comes to production, time is money, and time is excellence, right? When you can save time and you can deliver that piece of excellence on time, on the right time, you're going to have people that really stick with you for a long time. So we're excited to always be bringing this to you, and we have quite an expansive assortment of types of equipment that we offer that we feel pretty much fit any model of business. So I'll kick it over to Wayne to talk about that.
Thank you, Jacob. And you truly do have a lot of passion about tools. That's for sure. That'll never end. And that's why, honestly, here at Stuller and B&D, we know having options for customers is truly very important. At B&D and Stuller, we offer a broad assortment of laser options from our top brands like Ortig, Coherent, also known as Rofin, and Ciro Laser Tech. Jacob spoke about it at the beginning. We were one of the first companies to actually introduce laser technology in the jewelry industry back in the 90s with the ALS 35, also known as the Blue Pyramid. And to this day, our techs are still maintaining and running these equipment throughout the country. As Jacob said, we go into New York every week on Wednesdays, and a lot of our longtime B&D customers to this day still have those machines up and going, working, and that's 20, 30 years later, which is absolutely, it's incredible. Stuller has partnered with Coherent and Rofin over 20 years ago. And the Ortig brand has actually been on the forefront of laser technology with B&D now for about 20 years. So all of these brands have been in the industry for decades, and it's important to have partnership with brands that we know will be there for us and for you for many, many years to come. Throughout these brands, there's so many different options, from our desktop models, which is perfect for the smaller or the independent shops, to our floor models, which is good for larger shops and manufacturing. With the help of the tools tech specialist, we are only a phone call or a chat away for helping anyone with any questions to find that perfect laser welder for your individual needs. And I think Jacob's going to talk a little bit about some of those options between the floor model and our desktop models.
Yeah, I think one of the best ways that you can start that kind of thought process or that decision, once again, it is a big decision, is to start right here, right? We have two big categories that are a little bit separated between the desktop and the stand-up. We understand, obviously, when in jewelry production, space is at a premium in a shop. So a desktop offers that small footprint. The only drawback on that is, you can't always get the full length of production output because these machines generate a lot of heat and need to be water cooled. Sometimes you need the larger water tank to, say, work 6 hours a day and more. If you got 4 jewelers and everybody's in a line behind the other one trying to get to the laser welder and it's blowing and going, sometimes you need the bigger water tank, you need the stand-up model. There's a lot of technical information that goes behind all of this and even goes further extended. Our dedication in assembling our full laser assortment, because we have machines that start at around $10,000-$12,000, go all the way up to $35,000 and more. There's a broad spectrum of our assortment, but what we try to do is we try to reverse engineer. We try to think, what are all the ways that lasers can be used, and how can we find each piece of the puzzle, each point in the spectrum that is going to match up with those business needs and match up with the capabilities of the type of equipment. And we talk a lot about what what laser welders we have, what we do with laser welders, but I wanted to really take a deep dive here into what it is that laser welders can actually do. We talk about the proficiency that you gain, the speed at which you're able to do things. Well, whenever we start thinking about that, we think about what we first started using lasers for, what we kind of first identified as a really exciting and beneficial thing that we were able to do, which is really just assembly in general. Here you'll see some jump ring assembly, so just closing up some jump rings. This is, while very simple, those of you who have worked with a torch and have done your fair share of bench work, that there's an entire prep process and an entire cleanup process after. With laser welding, you're able to really just get the piece without anything else, get in there and fuse two things together, which is an incredible time-saving benefit. Also, when you're fusing two things together, you are really truly matching exactly the two pieces. So you're looking at, say, a 14 karat yellow piece, for instance, right? Even if you have to add a little bit of material, you're able to add that material being laser wire, which would be an exact 14 karat yellow laser wire. It's the actual metal, not solder with filler. And so it's going to be a perfect color match. So not only do you have overall a stronger weld, which we'll talk about a little bit further, but it's a perfect color match as well. And then you'll see really quickly here, just putting an earring post on. I mean, it's a simple job overall, but there's a lot in torch work that's going to go into this, right? And so being able to just take the two pieces, bring them directly into the laser and actually just get to welding and get that overall stronger weld is a huge benefit. And as we mentioned, time is money whenever it comes to that kind of thing. And so continuing to be able to produce at that speed is an amazing thing that you can deliver for your overall business. Now, as we continue to move forward, you'll notice the jobs get a little bit bigger. Well, what happens as the jobs get bigger, the strain that you're actually putting on the equipment tends to get a little bit more as well, right? It tends to get more demanding. So remember, we talked about something like a desktop and then moving into a stand-up. The more that if you're just, say, tacking, you're doing a little bit of jump ring closing, those smaller desktop units are absolutely all you need for something like that. Once we start getting into more of the sizing and actually, some of the bigger jobs, and you're having more of this, what you're doing is you're having more of a power output. You have more heat that's being generated. And so you're needing to do things like that. But you'll see in this video where what we essentially did is we cut the ring at an angle so that you can get a nice clean fusion at the absolute base between the two metals. Then we start adding laser wire, and you're just filling the gap and actually adding more material. Once again, it's laser wire that you're adding. So it's essentially an identical material to the ring itself. You're just adding more of that same metal. What you're getting is a much stronger weld, a cleaner weld, and then you're able to manipulate this material. What you'll notice, and from an application perspective, is what he ends up doing is he starts opening the beam up a little bit. And so you'll see the spot size getting a little bit larger as he continues to go. What he's doing is he's smoothing out the material and actually doing some of the cleanup process right there in the laser as well. He continues to fill on the other side. I'll skip ahead a little bit so that we can get to it. But you see right here, he's kind of opening it up and he's smoothing it out. And so it goes from, an overall kind of rough fusion of the two metals to actually a smoother and a cleaner overall weld. From a timing perspective, I'm interested to hear how long it takes some people to size a ring with a torch. I know we've heard anything from the Mavericks doing it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, all the way up to 30 and 40 minutes, depending, talking about prep time, talking about getting it ready, talking about flowing the solder, and then some of the cleanup afterwards. But as you noticed there, he really did a full resizing. Obviously, there's post work to be done, but in about 4 minutes. He's had some practice, but there's some people who have had even more practice, and I would argue that probably could do it even faster than that. And then you'll see this other side of it, which is prong retipping, adding more material to prongs. One of the biggest benefits when it comes to this, and this is a full unset a ring here, an unset setting, but whenever it comes to laser, it's the laser itself, what you're getting is a very small heat zone. So what I mean by that is your overall laser beam is only hitting the very small spot that you see, and there's very little heat that actually comes around it. Why that's important is you're able to work very close to soft, heat sensitive stones. So whenever you have a prong that a ring that needs to be has some material added to the prong, but you have something already set in there, you still want to be cautious. You want to use, take precaution. And there's, things like Cool Jewel or thermo shield, things like that, that you can block some of the heat. But you're able to work much more closely with things, especially whenever we're talking about platinum. Obviously, platinum has such a high melting temperature, that to get that torch weld and to get that, platinum solder to flow, it's going to be a higher overall temperature. Whereas with the laser welder, the laser tends to really absorb that laser energy. And so you're able to, with a relatively low overall heat, fuse that material together quite effectively and have a lower overall risk of damaging those stones through the heat itself. And then finally, this is one of my favorite applications, I'll say, just because it didn't dawn on me that this was possible until I got to B&D and really started seeing some of the ways that Manhattan and jewelers and these larger manufacturers are using laser technology. But who would have ever thought, right, that you can clean and polish with a laser? What he's doing here is, we've got some roughness. This could be anything from casting skin to just overall roughness of the metal itself. And with a very quick shot, and a very short time, so a small time overall. So the shot is just firing and coming right back. You're able to only penetrate the base or the top layer of the material, melt it, and allow it to really actually refinish itself. You'll never get to a mirror finish, but a lot of the people that I'm talking about that are using these for polishing, removing casting skins, and even filling some like pitting and porosity with some extra laser wire if needed, are running these machines all day long just to clean things and to really reduce the overall time on their production line. that they're having to spend. So this was something that to me was a little bit counterintuitive, I would say. And I still find that there's a lot of people that don't know that this process is possible. But once again, whenever it comes to things like this is what we stand for. This is what we want to bring and share, is the knowledge that we've gained throughout the industry. And that's where our tools experts and our laser technical experts really come into play for this sort of thing. But I don't know, I can watch videos like this all day long personally. My Instagram feed is half jewelry manufacturing and half bass fishing at this point. I'm not sure what you guys see in your algorithm, but I've got a lot of this kind of thing, and people are starting to use their lasers actually to record this kind of thing. This particular video is something that we recorded in-house on our Ortig Evo X. It's something that it gives us that capability to be able to just record exactly what you're seeing. So, you know, for training purposes, for social media purposes, it's the next level of technology. And I'll tell you, the Blue Pyramid that we first brought to market did not have that. So we're excited about the way that laser technology is continuing to develop. But at the same time, number one, it's an investment. Number two, it's integral to what you end up doing in your overall production. So what we like to think about the laser as is kind of like analogous to a car, right? You're investing a lot of money in it, and it's going to get you from point A to point B a lot faster than walking. But at the same time, you have to do some things to make sure that it's in prime condition to continue functioning. This is just a real quick overview of some of the things that we suggest, because these are YAG lasers and they are water cooled. You know, there's certain cleaning elements to it. You know, you have a cooling system, you have a radiator inside. So, you know, dust is the enemy. The water, being distilled water, needs to be changed out just to make sure that it's still up to par. And then our yearly preventative maintenance is kind of an overall a bigger undertaking, depending on the type of machine it is. It might be anywhere from $50 to $1,000. But whenever it comes to doing that in-depth, you know, anything that you need to take the cover off of your laser and essentially start working with, that's why we're here. And, you know, some of the time, and Wayne will talk a little bit about this, you know, if it makes less sense for you to do it and makes more sense for us to do it, we absolutely stand behind all of the tools and equipment that we carry, and we're here to support, because while it is something that has longevity, it's still a machine. The machines still break. We'll never say that it's never going to go down and something's never going to go wrong, but really that's where we stand behind you to pick up the slack and to support you whenever laser repairs become needed.
Oh, thank you, Jacob. Honestly, I love watching those videos, and honestly, just the experience and the capabilities of my team and the way they work with those lasers is just amazing. It's beyond just the service and the support, but they also understand how the equipment works for the end user, for the jewelers. Like Jacob said, there is really no difference from the routine maintenance that we would need to do on our cars. We have to do that with our lasers, especially when we're working them, you know, like some of our customers in New York City, where they're being run 10, 12, 13 hours a day. And like many of you, after sales support is crucial to continuing that relationship with our customers and the trust. And when a laser is down, we do understand it's not just holding back production, but it's also meeting the needs of your customers. So our trained techs and our brand partners allow us to help navigate the support needs quickly and efficiently. We understand you don't always have the time or even the knowledge sometimes to do that laser maintenance on your own. So that's why we offer phone, virtual, and on-site support. So whatever method of communication truly works best for you, we'll be there for you. We also love to help our customers out with preventive maintenance training. That's something, again, that we can do virtually or on site or even on the phone. But, you know, maintaining the equipment isn't always the easiest thing, but we're there to support you and help you through the lifetime of the equipment. Bottom line, our number one goal is to keep you up and running and not disappoint the demands of your customers. And speaking of equipment, I don't think laser welders are the only thing that we actually do here at B&D, right, Jacob?
That's absolutely right. And before even we move into laser engravers, I just thought, it's so true what Wayne said. Sometimes you don't have the time. Sometimes you just don't want to work on the lasers. I know how to change the oil in my car, but do I? No. I can fix a laser and I love doing that, but sometimes it makes more sense. You've got high demands and you need to attend to your business. And that's where we come in to support and to be that support in the background to do whatever it is that you need to keep your business running effectively. And Wayne is right. We are laser nerds across the board, so it does not stop at laser welders. We also offer a full suite of laser technology. And I know that whenever it comes to the customization that can be done by laser engravers, there are some initial steps that can be done. And Oriel, if you'd like to speak a little bit to the capabilities of the software side of this, we'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course. And actually, if you don't mind, I will share my screen just a second, just to
Please.
show.
Sure.
Because let me, yeah, so I stop sharing and I will start sharing my one. All right. So look, I was listening to all the presentation, and something that I really like is that with all this technology that we have today, what you can achieve in jewelry, it's crazy. And it's good because yesterday we had the presentation with Mehmet and Said. Mehmet was presenting all the Arabic designs. So in these parts of the world, they are doing very, very intricate designs where they are using wire, very, very fine wire, that back in the days, just putting all these wires together with a torch would be almost impossible. Today, thanks to the welders that you are supplying, all these jobs can be done. So they put together first designing with the software, with these intricate designs that before by hand was something almost impossible. But then you need the right machines to cast and also then to finish, as you were showing. I really like what you were telling about polishing, because once you cast it, there are these little places that it's almost impossible to reach with any tool. Then with the laser, you can shoot there, and this is amazing, just to have a nice finish in these areas. The funny part about that is that many times the people are always saying, well, but this, is just a little part here that you don't see it. If you just look at that ring, it's true, you don't see it. But once you put the two rings, one side by side, you say, there is something different in that one. I don't know what it is, but it looks much better. So it's these little details that tools like the one that you were showing us, it's helping a lot. So I just have this ring now just to show, because I was thinking that with all the equipment that you have been showing, for example, this ring, this will be probably in another material. So probably the ring will be in yellow gold. And if the customer wants to set one diamond just in the center, he would like to have one white gold bezel, so the diamond looks much better instead being set in yellow gold. So things like this with the welder, as you were showing, it's much easier to fill up all these little empty spaces that you have here. So you can make a nice soldering here, that if you have to do it with a torch, as you were doing before, if all these parts were put together, also, by torch, then there is a lot of parts that has been joined together. Once you have to hit everything, then you are in danger that parts may start to move. So instead, with the laser, you just focus on the part where you want to solder or just this area here, and you get a much better result. So this on the welder part, but also, of course, that with the software you can do engravings, right? So we have this tool that it's called the text on object, that is this one here. What is the problem on that? That we are very limited on the fonts that we can use. And the reason why is because what we need to do once we add any name like this one, we can use any font, because as you can see here, you will have actually all the fonts that you have in Windows, right? So you can choose any of those. But if I get something, this one is quite thick, but when you get, let me see if I can get this on this one. Yeah. Look, if you get this one, so this one is very nice. Now it's recalculating everything. But the problem that you have with this is that there is all these thin areas that once it comes out from casting, you can cast these very thin areas. So this is when you need sometimes, to just engrave a long writing saying something that you want to keep in your memories. It's good to have the laser engraver, because then you can use any font and you can use even logos many times. For us, the people is saying, we would like to add the logo here in with MatrixGold. You can do it, but of course, that is not as easy as with the laser. In the laser, I suppose that you have the logo, and the only thing that you need to do is just engrave it on any part that you want from that ring. So I really like, and this is something that I was talking also in different sessions this week, is that back in the days, the technology was growing a lot. So we were having the lasers from one side, we were having the printers from another side, the software on another side, but we wasn't putting them together. In virtual summits like the one that we are doing, I'm happy to show everyone that all they work together. So we were talking about Counter Sketch and the B9. So the printer is working already with Counter Sketch. Yesterday we were talking about casting and the software. So how you can make any design with the software and you can cast it today with the new machinery. And today I'm glad to finish this virtual summit talking, with this. Once you have design, print, cast the designs, how the welders and the engravers can help you to bring that last touch to your design to give an amazing result. So, yeah, this is what I was looking for.
Perfect. No, that's fascinating. And please confirm, can you see the engraver screen? Perfect. You're absolutely right, Oriel. That was a great design as well. I love to see that. And it is very interesting, some of the things that you said, right? Like being able to fill in that little space between, to have mixed metals. You never know what people are going to need, and having the laser welder to actually fuse that together and to assemble that, I think that's fantastic. The other thing is a really good call out, the polishing under a set stone. I mean, you are bringing a brilliant stone, a brilliant diamond, or whatever it might be, really, to this individual, and you want to be able to deliver it in something, in a setting that is going to be, to give it really the full credit that it's due, the full capacity to shine, and to give it that brilliance and fire. And it is really true. Sometimes you set the full thing, and there's that little bit of porosity down below, or and having that laser where, instead of having to bring a torch to it, or even some of our pulse arc welders, which are fantastic, but would sometimes be a little bit limited because you have to get the tip into it. Really, anything that you can see, the light beam can hit and can actually weld. So that's a great call out. And on the engraving side of things, while we'd like to bring the full finished piece to life, and always have the perfect piece, there's always things that people want to continue to commemorate in their life. They might have had the wedding ring, but now it's their 50th anniversary, and they want to add just that date or their partner's fingerprint on the inside of the ring. These are all things that laser engraving can add to your customization options after the piece has already been created. Our full suite really starts from simple, laser engravers that can be used to make gift jewelry. We do things like Yeti mugs or flasks and things like that, bracelets, pendants, photo engraving, all the way up to much larger types of laser technology that can really enable full scale production, and then everything in between, and full automation on that side, and everything in between that allows for that customization post sale.
And something that I think it is also good to talk about is that this also gives you a lot more of possibilities in your business, right?
Yeah.
So now you can sell your jewelry not for many different purposes, because you have the option to engrave anything to your jewelry or make any pendant or anything commemorative jewelry for anyone. So this is giving you a lot more of options to your business to get different customers that before maybe you couldn't get them.
That's absolutely right.
And something that I was thinking, man, if I would have that 20 years ago, because I started in the trade as a diamond setter. So as a diamond gem setter. So
Sure.
I remember those days setting emeralds or customers bringing me emerald set with this prongs that was waste, and I had to just unset the emerald, fix the setting. In these days, man, this probably still I would be being a setter if I would have this machine by that time. But you know, being able to add the metal and retrieve all these prongs is something huge for jewelers.
Absolutely. No, and it's time saving, it's energy saving, and at the end of the day, as you mentioned, it adds so much that you can do. And I think, you know, we so value foot traffic, right? If you can get people in the door, your business type, your charisma, your energy, the way that you do business is going to get them to stay. And these are the things that get them in the door. Sometimes people are really just looking to get something customized, to get something engraved, and they don't know that they're looking for jewelry yet, or they don't know that they're going to be needing jewelry in the future, you know, and so establishing those relationships through these additional offerings, I think you're absolutely right. It's huge whenever it comes to overall business and what you can do with that.
And from the relationship, and something good that the Stuller has, right? That it has all the different environments under the same roof. Then I think that this for the customer is very, very important because if you need to source something from one place, something from another place, you know, these teams needs to communicate each other. When you go to Stuller and you find everything under the same roof, everything is much easier. So the customer only needs to think about just going to Stuller, and a Stuller will solve the problem. Either just for what we were talking about, the engraving, you know, I can talk with you, Jacob, you can talk with me, and we can decide what is the best option for our customer.
Right.
If he's trying to engrave, as we were saying a lot of tags with different fonts, you and me will talk, and we will give the best solution to a customer. So we solve the problem to the customer. Instead, if they need to sort it out by themselves, everyone will say that his part is the best one, right? But
Yeah.
we are giving them the right solution. So I think that's very, very important also for customers.
Absolutely. And I mean, for us, you know, we've always sought to be the one-stop shop whenever it comes to, you know, I started just in tools and just selling what we offer, understanding, of course, what we're using internally, what else there is out there, new technology. But I mean, anything from, you know, as you mentioned before, casting equipment, all the way, you know, obviously our 3D printers are laser technology, but even, you know, diamond screening equipment, we always seek to be at the forefront of everything that's happening so that we could be the full solution for all things, not only the products themselves, but really what we are so passionate about is this service and support afterwards. You know, what's a good machine if you don't know how to use it? What's a good machine if it starts to go down and you don't have somebody to call and help you get it back up and running? You know, I grew up around tools all my life. You know, my family was in a lot of construction, electrical, the whole nine. I grew up with tools in my hand. I worked offshore, and you know, when it came to using tools, you know, your tool is only as good as how well you know how to use it and how well it's going to be supported if something happens to it. So it's something we take very seriously around here, and you know, it's a big part of what we do.
And I suppose that Jacob, also as is happening with us with the software, when you are giving support, you are not just offering a service to the customers, you are also getting a lot of knowledge on what you should do next with your machinery, right? So with the software, of course, that many times we talk to our customers as much as we can, because this is the most important part for us also. So many times they are saying, look, I'm trying to do that. We tell them how to do it with what we have, but this is giving us an idea of something else that we can develop to make it even easier for our customers. So this relationship between, as we were talking about, inside the company, but also with our customers, at the end of the day, is what makes all the business grow.
That's absolutely right. I mean, our research and development department is always working on new solutions. And I would say that what we're doing most of the time that as you said, we're trying to fix things, is we're already thinking, how can we do this better? How can we avoid this in the future? What can we develop? What can we find that might avoid that problem completely? How can we get better with that? So I think the feedback is absolutely so important. And for us, we're always trying to stay on the cutting edge of things. I know our JCK booth, for instance, we're going to have a Stuller booth and a B&D booth. And our B&D booth, we're really bringing some exciting new equipment, some new technology. I'm hoping that, in 20 years, we're in a presentation and we can talk about the first JCK show that we ever launched this type of technology in the jewelry space, but it's very exciting for us. We want to stay at the forefront on it, but we need people to see it. We need people to test it out. We need people to tell us how it can be made better so that we can continue to innovate, so that we can continue to make all of the practices, all of the jewelry making, manufacturing and customizing and repairing practices that much better, so that the future of our industry looks even better than where we are right now.
And something that I really love from JCK, and I feel like, by the way that, you are talking also about the laser and also Wayne, we are passionate about what we are doing, right? So we love what we are doing. Something amazing from when we are in JCK is that we are talking to people that has the same passion that we have. So this is what I really enjoy when we are in JCK, because you feel that you create that atmosphere, that we are talking about something that we do on a daily basis, that we are doing it because we love it. And you can see that connection when you are talking to all these customers in JCK. So we also will be presenting there a new version for MatrixGold. So there is a lot of news in B&D and the Stuller booth. So yeah, it's a good call, Jacob, to invite everyone to visit us in JCK. In probably 10 days or 12 days. So
Oh my goodness, I haven't started packing yet. Oh, we're ready though. No, absolutely. It's not too far away at all. And as Oriole said, we've got a lot there. I know, Oriole, you guys are always excited to see people. And our booth we've done a lot to bring new things. But also, we know it's so important to be able to try some of these things. It's not always very easy to get a hands-on demonstration or a hands-on feel, when it comes to tools, when it comes to software, whenever it comes to jewelry, sometimes you just have to see things in person. I'm a very tactile person myself, and whenever it comes to something that's this big, especially, the bigger investments, you want to make sure that, number one, you feel comfortable with it. Number two, you can do it. And number three, that you have somebody that you can see face to face that's also going to be there to support you for that. So we've got a lot of good things planned. So definitely, I'm not sure if we have our booth numbers, but we definitely have that. We post that everywhere, but hopefully, you go upstairs, you shouldn't be able to miss us. We've got our big banner up top that you should be able to see us. And then in the B&D booth downstairs, we're actually going to be in the heart of the action, right in the middle of the ETS section. And we're going to be making some noise. So excited for anybody that might be coming out to see us. If we want, at this point, we have some frequently asked questions
yes.
that we can go through, but if we have some time and we have some questions, I'd love to open up the floor for any Q&A that we might have as well.
Yeah, I think that is good to give option to the customers, because I feel we are so passionate with that, Jacob, that we could be talking about this for hours.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I can go through these things really quickly. I put it up on the screen
Yes,
so that everybody can read it. But obviously, we've talked about the efficiency. We've talked about how the very small heat zone is very effective with the laser. The laser weld is essentially 3 times stronger than solder because there's no filler, right? It's just metal to metal. So it's the same thing as you would imagine actually cutting into a ring. It's the same thing. It's a fusion at the atomic level. So people always ask, right? We're trying to replace your torch. We're absolutely not. Your torch is necessary. There are times that you need to flow solder. There's a drawback of a laser welder, essentially, that you can't flow things. So even if you had solder, you're not going to be able to actually, if you have a large piece that you're trying to assemble to another large piece, you need to be able to flow the solder and actually have it have a complete weld all the way through and through. There's an example here of the peg setting, which I think is perfect. If you have a peg head, you want to zap it and put it in place and then take it to your torch and solder it to where it's in a good place. Reason being, if the customer later on, or it's a stock piece, however it might be, but if you need to switch out that head later, it's going to be a lot easier if you can just heat it up and reflow the solder and pull it out versus it completely fusing to it and actually having to cut the whole thing out. So your torch is always going to be handy. Really quickly on laser energy, you've heard joules a lot, and you will hear of 60 joule, 80 joule, 100 joule, 150 joule, 200. They keep getting more and more powerful. I'm here to be the first one to tell you, I will. You do not need all of that power. Is it good? Absolutely. Is it cool to have a car that can go 200 miles an hour? Definitely. Are you going to drive that car 200 miles an hour through the streets of downtown Lafayette? Hopefully not. But it is good because giving you that full runway, you're not maxing out the machine. So, we do have lasers. Actually, we have a laser that goes up to 280 joules. And then we even have some that technically are higher than that. Is that necessary for standard jewelry applications? Absolutely not. Our first laser welders that we brought into the industry were 20 and 30 joules. We had difficulty with silver. We would max out the machine to do silver. Silver is very reflective and it doesn't like to absorb the actual laser energy. You have to crank it up or you have to mark it with a black Sharpie. To do it without marking it with the black Sharpie, you got to crank it up to, say 30 joules. It's always a little bit different based on some factors, but that's really what you're looking at. So as long as you have a machine that's above that, I think that a comfortable place to be is 100 to 200 joules, somewhere in that range is going to do everything that you need to do. It's just that the more power you have, the less hard you have to run it. So we're thinking about the longevity of the machine and the overall consistency of the output. And then sizing rings, you saw that firsthand. So absolutely, you can size a ring. There's no discoloration, so you're going to have no color seam, right? You're going to actually weld perfectly together with a color match. So we always love that. And then you don't have to worry about the gemstone heat sensitive stones and things like that. And then finally, just really quickly, the laser radiation stickers. This is laser technology. At the end of the day, we are using something that has the potential, right, if not properly manufactured, to have some health concerns. Now, we particularly work with very long time vetted laser manufacturers who have been at the forefront of understanding what safety standards are, and how we can best conform and actually go above and beyond what just regular safety standards. There really is no concern. I would say, once again, if it comes to taking the cover off the machine, don't stare directly into the light, and overall call us if there's any questions, but you should be fine. But, especially whenever these were first brought on the market, there was concerns there, but I would say that things have come a long way. Laser technology continues to develop, and we think about safety at the forefront of all of this.
All right, so thank you so much, Jacob, Wayne. If there is anyone that wants to ask anything, now it's the right time. But I believe that probably many people will be, as you said, nothing better than try it in a booth where we will be in JCK. So everyone will be more than welcome to come and just try it. Honestly, I haven't been working or using much laser, so probably I will come down to the booth, and I would love to play a bit with the new technology that now I'm excited.
Absolutely.
To see what it is.
We'll schedule some training time for you, Oriole. We need you using those lasers.
Fantastic. All right, so Wayne, Jacob, thank you so much. This has been the last session from this third virtual summit. So I'm glad that we have finished with the last steps that you do when you are working on any piece of jewelry. I feel like it has been the right wrap up for this virtual summit. Again, thank you so much, and I see you both in 2 weeks' time. And thank you everyone for assisting.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all. Hope to see y'all soon.